On this video, we're diving into brand new research that finally asked autistic adults why we stim. And spoiler alert, it turns out stimming is actually way more important than most people think. Let's go. Welcome, my stars of Orion. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. I've got some new research on autistic adults and stimming, what it means to us, how often we suppress it, and whether it actually plays a role in social communication. Now, the research I'm drawing from is titled Beyond Self-Regulation: Autistic Experiences and Perceptions of Stimming. Now, this research, which was published in the Journal of Neurodiversity by Morris et al. 2025, surveyed autistic adults on their real experiences with stimming. And the findings challenge a lot of outdated ideas. So unlike older research that simply treats stimming as just a symptom of autism that should be reduced, this study actually listened to autistic people. And guess what? It turns out stimming is way more important than most people realize. But first up, what exactly is stimming? Okay, nice. Let's go back to the start then. Stimming, or self-stimulatory behavior, is really any kind of repetitive movement or sound or action that somehow helps autistic people regulate our emotions or our sensory input. Now, for autistic people, you may have heard of the everyday general stereotypes like hand flapping when your autistic child is excited, rocking back and forth to soothe yourself. You may have heard of humming or repeating words, echolalia, fidgeting with objects, pacing when in deep thought or in deep processing. All just basic examples of what stimming is. And breaking news, neurotypical people, non-autistic people, stim too. Yeah, right. You didn't know that? What, so you've never tapped your pen, moved your pen, bounced your legs around, chewed on something while you're constant? That's stimming. Hello? The key difference is for autistic people, stimming can often be a lot more frequent, clearly more visible, and deeply important for our daily well-being. Let's dig into the big findings from the research beyond self-regulation, autistic experience and perceptions of stimming. Finding number 1, stimming is mostly positive. Did you hear that? Stimming is mostly positive. Most participants, and this is about 60%, said stimming is sometimes positive and sometimes negative, but nearly 40% said it's generally positive. So stimming isn't just a symptom of autism. For many of us, it's a comfort. Stimming is a coping tool, even a source of joy. Stimming is critical, and because it's critical, it has to be a positive thing. So a real life example. Imagine you've had a really stressful day. You start tapping your fingers rhythmically. Now, remember, I do this sometimes. I actually tap and I rub. And then sometimes when it's really intense, I pick. Okay, so that repetitive motion somehow can actually calm your nerves, can regulate you. That's what stimming does for many autistic people. Except society often sees it as wrong or inappropriate, and sometimes just downright annoying. I feel the need to almost pause the video just to digest the fact that modern day research is stating a finding that autistic stimming is positive. In saying that though, it's much better than if modern day research stated stimming is a symptom that can be cured. Yeah, of course it's bloody positive. What do you think we're waking up in the morning going, hey, how can we agitate those neurotypicals again? I got a good one. Finding number 2. Most autistic people mask their stims. Can you believe this stat? 88% of people in this study said they suppress their stims at least some of the time. And nearly a third mask most or all of the time. What? And why? Judgment, stigma, pressure to fit in. I hope those stats hit home. Okay, so think about it from a point of view of, let's say there's a student in a class. Okay, so you've got a kid, could be your kid, a kid in class, right? They want to rock back and forth. They want to move around. And that's how they regulate themselves and hopefully learn. But guess what? They've already realized, I can't do that. I've got to hold back. Why? Well, number one, I'll get teased and bullied by the other kids. Number two, I'll probably get reprimanded by the teacher. What about an employee? You're an adult at work. You need to fidget to focus. But you keep your hands still, your body still, because your boss might think you look unprofessional. What a load of crap. Unprofessional is not being a productive employee. If doing things help you be productive, that sounds pretty bloody professional to me. These are real findings from an actual research study, including autistic people in 2025. On to finding number 3, and this is a big one. Over 70% of participants said stimming helps them connect with other autistic people. In other words, stimming is like an autistic body language. Stimming is in effect an autistic language. Is this on? Do you see what I'm saying? Stimming is a language. It communicates excitement, stress, frustration, and other autistic people can actually recognize not only stims, but what different stims actually mean. And frankly, this doesn't need to just be a secret autistic language. Loved ones of autistic people can get to know the stims of the autistic person in their life. It's almost like learning another language because it's important to you, because they're a person you love in your life. So if stimming is so helpful for autistic people, why do so many of us hide it? Well, the study found that masking stims is mostly driven by fear of judgment or social consequences. Yes, there's consequences for autistic people being autistic in the world we live in. And don't shy away from the long-term effects, exhaustion, stress, mental health struggles, because people in this study said masking may have helped them avoid negative reactions, so masking the stim. But for many, found it utterly draining, isolating, debilitating, exhausting. So imagine a job interview, okay? You've got an autistic person. They might suppress their stims. They're going to suppress their stims, their natural autistic reactions, because they're worried the person interviewing will think you're unprofessional. Can't hire this person. They can't even sit still. Now, in reality, suppressing it is just making you more and more anxious. In other words, you're trying to do better in an interview, for example, and in trying to suppress what helps you do better, you're not going to do better, you're going to do worse. And this is the vicious hell the neurotypical world have placed us in, locked the door and thrown away the key. Here's something we absolutely have to talk about. Stimming is communication. Who's talking about this, by the way? No, stimming is annoying. Stop that, please, Orion. You're stimming again and it's agitating the people. The people? Yeah, that's right. Stimming is communication. If the study found that half the participants said they could usually tell how another autistic person felt based on their stims, don't you think that's something that loved ones of autistic people could tap into? Because it seems like it is to me. And sure, it's not necessarily something in the research, but it just comes across like a common sense next step. These stims express emotions just like facial expressions do for non-autistic people. Stims are being used by autistic people to express emotions that their facial expressions cannot. I've personally seen my autistic son stim when he's excited. This could be acting almost manic, rocking, moving when they're anxious, humming, doing echolalic type stims. These stims express emotions, just like, for example, facial expressions would do for non-autistic kids. Does that make sense? So what does all this mean? Are we supposed to stop stimming? No. Acceptance matters. People need to understand that stimming, number one, is a positive tool for self-regulation, right? So stimming is actually a positive thing, action, tool, whatever, used by autistic people for a genuine purpose. And number two, stimming can actually be fun, joyful, comforting, soothing. But in my opinion, most importantly, stimming is a way some autistic people communicate and express their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts, their experiences. Stimming is a form of communication. Are you getting this, camera guy? Seriously, did you hear those things I just said? Instead of teaching autistic people to hide their stims, to stop them, to just be normal for 2 seconds. You're annoying me. That's agitating. Can you not? Can we actually maybe create a world where autistic people feel like they can safely stim? Yeah, a freedom to stim. And for my non-autistic, neurotypical, just downright beautiful loved ones of autistic people, if you see someone stimming, instead of staring at them, or making them uncomfortable, or shaming them, or snapping, stop, just let them be. If it's not harming anyone, it's part of who they are. And if you can just look past the judgment you're feeling and accept it, that's right. Don't say, stop that. Say, does this help you? Are you going through something and this is helping you? If a stim is disruptive, okay, redirect. Do you want me to go grab your fidget? Can I get you that fidget toy? Do you need a blanket? Do you need a hug? Do you want to go outside? And if a stim is self-harming, you need to focus on safety, not suppression. Does that make sense? If a stim is self-harming, we can't focus on don't do that, suppress that, because I'm an 80-year-old man. I still self-harm my fingers by picking the skin till it bleeds. We have to look at ways to do it safely. So what are your thoughts? Have you ever felt pressured to hide your stims? Or do you use stimming to connect with other people, other autistic people? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And for more, check out my playlist, Autism and Dysregulation.